Hey everyone,
Hi there.
welcome back.
Yeah.
This is going to be another roll. This one's going to be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
We're going to go over the Invoker. So, the Invoker has a total of 5 sub-rolls. You've got Invocation, you've got Inquiries, you've got Verdicts, you've got Wrath, and Wards. So some of these roles are going to be kind of like influential, impacting others, and then some of them are going to be kind of like buff, debuff kind of stuff, including some pretty hardcore damage output.
Right off the bat, the first one is the invocations. These are your spiritual presence. You're the holy warrior. You have communion with your god or your deity or whatever is giving you this power, and this is your prayer side of things.
It's the I vow to avenge and protect.
Right.
And
Yeah.
It's ironically enough, one of those abilities is called vow.
The capstone is vow. The other ones are declare, petition, and invoke, and these do everything from just one of them is you make a speech and you get back more HP on your short rests.
Yeah, so you basically gain back HP, but you have to be in kind of like a downtime situation. The declare is kind of neat because it allows you to basically get like an auto hit, which is pretty cool.
A vow is you're taking a vow to do the thing, whatever the thing may be, and you're putting your honor and your pride on the line to get this accomplished. And there's some benefits that go along with that.
So there's benefits, but there's also some negatives too. I'll let you hit the benefits. If you go against these morals, this promise that you've made to yourself and to others, it actually starts to deduct from your overall HP.
Right. And then the benefits are you have the petition, which is where you get your HP back to full on a short rest. That applies to everybody in the party. There's 2 more. So on top of the healing one, you also get to where you can use the invoke without spending any AP. And then also, just for cosmetic reasons, your eyes have an otherworldly glow to them.
Yeah. So you're
Pretty
basically
cool.
walking this spiritual entity, kind of like, I pledge my allegiance to this being, this deity maybe, or maybe it's something else. And you're kind of just have this walking overall kind of like spiritual presence about you.
Which is really cool. Moving on from that one, the next one in the book is the inquiries. This is your divination person. This is your finding secrets and learning things that you shouldn't have knowledge of.
So this is actually one of my favorite ones. I think as far as like overall RP stuff that you can do, this is really going to give you some really fun stuff. I kind of call this one like the Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what this sub role is going to do is it's really going to get you as a player to kind of tap into like other NPCs and really your environment and what's going on around you. So Soul Gaze basically kind of allows you to reach out and kind of touch like another character or entity, and depending on your role you're gonna have some different effects, but like the overall best outcome that you get is you're gonna learn the worst and best thing that this person you're basically engaging with has ever done. And I kind of look at like the kind of like melee little penance there.
Not the next one, but one of the ones I think is really interesting is Evil Eye.
Yeah.
Essentially you can see the most evil thing that has ever happened where you are. Whether that be somebody got murdered here 40 years ago, or whether that be there was a war here, and this is like the most atrocious war site in the war where more people have died than anywhere else on both sides, and that was hundreds of years ago. But it's really just up to the guide as to what it is that you find out.
Mm-hmm. The really rad one about this one too is what's called Shadow Seek. Basically, you kind of project yourself out into the ether, and you're going to have a couple of different things going on. So you're able to, how do I put this? It works like scrying.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word I was looking for. It's going to allow you to kind of basically scry on other beings and other things that are out there in the world. And based on your role, if you really flub it, they can kind of recognize your presence and stuff and pinpoint where you're at.
The last, the catastrophic failure on this one is they see you instead of you seeing them, and they see your environment and know essentially what's going on with you at the time.
Yeah, you can even when you're rolling and you roll well, like you can even engage with these players in almost like this dream-like state, to where like they feel like you touch them. It's kind of just like a breeze and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. I think this one would have some really fun like RP stuff.
I do too. That's the 100%. All of the inquiries makes me think very heavy role play.
Yeah, you're trying to inquire about things. Maybe that's where the word comes from.
The verdicts are a little bit the same way, but they're more of a personal role play. This is your holy zealot. This is your preacher on TV.
Or it's the dude from Far Cry 5.
We save those lost souls, whether they want to be saved or not.
Yeah.
But basically, your overall prowess to this thing is you're going to have basically this energy is flowing through you. You're going to be able to inspire others and stuff like that. You're going to be able to compel others based on rolls to basically tell the truth. It's also going to be kind of fun too, because if you screw the roll up, they're going to recognize that you're essentially trying to compel them, and they're like, hey, you're a jerk. I know what you're trying to do there.
The higher ones on this one is Forgive and Liberate. These are really interesting. These are not just they're almost a status condition in a way, to where if you can forgive or liberate somebody who's doing all these evil things, they don't have any of that weight on them anymore. They feel like it'll be okay. And they can put it behind them. They're no longer driven by whatever was driving them before, if it's successful.
And this can be really neat, because you could have this character that may have just been like dragged through the crapper, essentially, some really bad stuff that's happened that maybe they feel guilty for, or maybe that they just have
Punisher.
And
your character walks up to Punisher and says, hey,
it's going to be all right.
It's okay.
And then
it's not your fault. You're forgiven.
Yeah.
And then Punisher no longer exists, essentially. He's just a normal dude at that point.
So that's how it works on basically like the minion styles. But like the big baddies and stuff like that, let's say you're getting ready to go into a boss fight and you want to use this ability that's going to cost you 3 AP. They kind of sit there for a moment and have like this introspective moment of like, man, this is right. I got to go think about this, essentially.
Yeah.
And they walk away from the fight.
Moving on from that one, the Wrath is your damage dealer. It's all of your damaging smites and paladin abilities, essentially.
Yeah, this is probably my other favorite one that's in here. If you want to be like the damage dealing paladin, this is the way you're going to want to go. Right. Like you said, you got smite. You can basically charge your weapons with fire and give them basically a +1 to attack, which is pretty neat. Cool. You've got Thunderous Word, which basically allows you to speak an incantation, and then it's going to hit the enemies that are basically in like this pocket for around 2 damage, push them back, and kind of like stun them. But what's really cool too is on top of that, like other games I'd play, it kind of gives what you would call mute, and they basically can't use abilities.
Right. It makes it to where essentially they have their ear ringing going on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool.
Yeah.
The Lawbringer basically turns your character into Thor.
You summon a special hammer, and if you crit with the special hammer, you get Thunderous Word for free. Yeah. Which is really freaking cool.
Mm-hmm. And then you got everybody's Paladins bread and butter. You got the Smite. But what makes this different about Smite that you would have in like a D&D setting is you just cast it, and no matter what happens, you're just hitting for 10 damage.
Right. There is a downside to it, though.
There is, and this is what's really
cool.
rad. So you hit it, you don't roll for it. You hit the attack, you get the automatic 10 damage from Smite. But then you roll. If you roll above a 2, or 2 or above, you're good. But if you roll a -1, basically this creature's like essence and soul is trapped inside of your mind and your body.
So now you have a hitchhiker permanently in your brain that's like, hey, why'd you kill me? Hey, you shouldn't have done that. Hey, you should do this instead. And like, you talk about some role play with the guy.
That would be fun.
Like the guy can really take over here and just make this an awesome event.
And then moving on from that, we have Wards, which is kind of the opposite of Wrath. It's not going to be really damage focused. It's going to be more defense based.
Yep, it's all your defense stuff. It's your shield. A sigil is you draw a magic sigil, and whenever a creature of your designation gets within so close of it, you can set it up to where it does different things, whether it alerts you or whether it does this or that. There's a handful of different things.
You can set it up like an alarm. You can even have an option to if you want to. Like if there's, I don't know, like any humans that walk by, to send a message to them telepathically.
Right. Or you can even set it up to where, you're on the hunt for a ghost because somebody died in this area, and you need to ask them questions. So you set it up to be alert, where it draws ghosts that are nearby to it.
Yeah. It's got another ability on here that's super rad, because I've always kind of like wanted to look for an ability that's not homebrewed in D&D for this. It's called Befizzle. What it basically does is you cast it costs 4 AP. It doesn't matter what you use it on. It can't use magic for the next hour period.
But at the same time, it locks you down as well.
Yeah, because you have to focus on it.
Invoker also, Fighter had 3 legendaries. Invoker has 4 legendaries. They're all a little bit different. The 4 are Wraith, Sacrifice, Prophecy, and Eternity Gate.
Mm-hmm. So Wraith, you think very much kind of like something from like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Basically, when you die, you become this ethereal ghost, essentially, and you can move around, you can walk, and you can't be physically harmed to actually outright be killed. They have to use some type of magic in order to do it.
But if you do get hit by magic while you're in a Wraith form, you do take double.
Yep. So that's going to make that save a little harder.
A little bit harder. Sacrifice is a very unique one. You are able to sacrifice a little bit of your permanent HP to save somebody else's life whenever they're on death's door.
That's also another one of the abilities kind of sort of they have earlier in the game too, to where you can start siphoning off your HP to basically like life transfer.
Essentially it is.
Yeah.
It's you give up a piece of your soul to save theirs.
Yeah, but this, you're bringing them back from the dead.
Right, and having abilities that draw from your permanent HP pool whenever your permanent HP pool never increases is extremely interesting to me. Also, this ability, if you happen to be down to your last HP, and whenever you use sacrifice, it puts you to 0, you also gain Wraith right then, and you become a Wraith. I think at that point you're a full lich. Like you've split off your soul enough, and you've given up enough of your soul that your soul no longer exists, and now you're just this ethereal thing that can never become human again.
Yeah, and you can kind of stay in game, and
right, you no longer have a corporeal form.
Yeah, so you basically would be kind of just like the dude in the background if you want to keep playing to where you're a ghost forever.
Essentially, yeah, you're a ghost. Anytime that you take a hit, it's a death save roll. But at the same time, your max HP is 0, so you never have to worry about, like, you never go down again.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
The next one is Prophecy, and in my opinion, I think it's one of the neatest and kind of coolest ideas from a player perspective. I
would also say it's one of the most limiting.
Yes, but so what this ability basically allows you to do is you get to use it one time, and that's it. After it's used, it's gone forever. It basically allows you as a player to manipulate and change things that have to happen in game, and your guide has to agree with it.
There are limitations to it. There's specific things that you have to pick from, and then how you flavor that for that NPC is the way it works. It is limited to one NPC as well, but it is very much, hey, I want this to happen with this NPC. Like, okay, cool, there's a shopkeep, and you know what? I want that shopkeep to turn out to be a bad guy.
Yep.
And the guy just says, okay, cool, that'll happen somewhere down the road.
Or this commoner that's a nobody becomes a king of a land.
Exactly, because you told a prophecy and it becomes true. Eternity Gate is a little bit the same way. Instead of it being about an NPC, it's essentially a prophecy about yourself. And if you do badly on it, it has some extreme ramifications.
Embrace eternity.
The catastrophic failure, if you roll a 1 on this, you separate your mind from your body. Your mind wanders around for 100,000 years in the span of a week, and then you snap back to your body after a week in your character's real time, and then you have to live with 100,000 years of experience in your brain, which completely changes your character. The book even says, hey, all of your ideals and your flaws and all this stuff about your character, you have to remake it. And
then the overall, I guess, ability of this, aside from the negative stuff, you basically get to ask like one major question. Like, let's say you're on the hunt for a relic, or you're looking for something, you want to use this ability, and you're like, is it here? Or point me in the direction. Right. Where is it? And if you roll well enough, you can get a follow-up question to that, which is cool. So it's pretty much like Commune. It's a very extreme version of Commune. But yeah, that's everything in a quick synopsis on the Invoker. Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay awesome, be excellent, and love each other. We'll see you. Peace. Maybe next time I'll learn how to speak a little better. I was tongue-tied this time, man.